a car that narrates its own decisions in real time. 7 of the world's biggest automakers, covering 18 million vehicles a year, all building on the same AI brain. 110 robots walking the conference floor, $1 trillion in projected demand, and Olaf from Frozen showing up to close the show? No, seriously. 2 days ago, Jensen Huang took the stage at the SAP Center in San Jose in front of nearly 20,000 people and delivered what I genuinely think is the most consequential tech keynote in years. Not the most hyped, because the things he announced aren't roadmap promises. They're shipping, they're signed, they're walking around right now. We're covering all of it. The autonomous vehicle, AI that can actually reason, the humanoid robots ready for commercial deployment today, the open source models, and the number that made the entire industry do a double take. So let's start off with a shock statement. The ChatGPT moment for autonomous vehicles has arrived. That's not me hyping things up. That's literally what Jensen said on stage, word for word, and he had the receipts to back it up. The centerpiece of the autonomous vehicle section was something called Alpamayo, NVIDIA's new AI model specifically built for self-driving. Jensen called it the world's first thinking and reasoning autonomous vehicle AI. What does that mean in practice? It means the car doesn't just react to its environment, it reasons through it. It narrates its own decisions in natural language. It can explain why it's doing what it's doing in real time. They showed a live demo where the AI talked through navigating around a double-parked car, adjusting speed based on a passenger request, and making judgment calls that go beyond simple sensor reactions. That's not a rule-based system. That's something much closer to actual cognition. And I think that's genuinely exciting, not just as a tech fan, but as someone who actually wants this technology to be trustworthy and safe. Before the keynote, NVIDIA released a video of Jensen himself taking a 2.5-hour ride across San Francisco in a Mercedes running the Alpamayo system. Not a test track, real city, real traffic. That alone is a statement. Now here's where the scale of what NVIDIA is building becomes hard to ignore. At GTC 2026, Jensen announced 4 new automaker partners joining the NVIDIA robotaxi-ready platform. BYD, Hyundai, Nissan, and Geely. Now combine those with the existing partners, Mercedes, Toyota, and GM, and you've got 7 major manufacturers all building on the same NVIDIA stack. Together, those 7 companies produce around 18 million vehicles every single year. Let that sink in. NVIDIA is quietly becoming the operating system of the global automotive industry. Not a supplier, not a vendor, the underlying intelligence layer. That's a completely different kind of power, and I think the market is still catching up to what that actually means long term. And then there's the Uber deal. NVIDIA announced a partnership with Uber to deploy robotaxi-ready vehicles across multiple cities. This is the bridge between the tech and the real world. Uber brings the infrastructure, the riders, the regulatory experience, and NVIDIA brings the brain. That's a genuinely complementary pairing, and I'm honestly surprised it took this long to happen. If you had told me 5 years ago that a chip company would be the common thread between BYD, Hyundai, GM, Mercedes, Toyota, and Uber, I would have thought you were oversimplifying. Turns out that's exactly what happened. Now let's talk about the robots, because this section of the keynote was wild. NVIDIA has been building toward physical AI for a while. The idea that AI doesn't just live in data centers or on screens, but in machines that move through the real world. And at GTC 2026, that vision moved from concept to commercial reality. Jensen announced Isaac GR00T N1.7, the latest version of NVIDIA's foundational model for humanoid robots. And here's the key thing. N1.7 is described as commercially viable for real-world deployment right now, not in 2 years, not coming soon, now. The next version, N2, ships by the end of 2026. There were 110 robots physically present at the conference. Think about that for a second. A conference floor with over 100 humanoid and specialized robots walking around, demonstrating what this technology can actually do. Jensen himself said that he can't think of a single company building robots today that isn't working with NVIDIA. That's a dominant position that most people outside the industry don't fully appreciate yet. The simulation side is just as important as the hardware. NVIDIA's Omniverse platform and the Newton physics engine let companies train robots in virtual environments before they ever touch the real world. That cuts development time dramatically and reduces the trial and error that makes robotics so expensive. It's the same logic as testing software in a sandbox before pushing to production, just applied to physical machines. Now we need to talk about Olaf, because yes, Olaf walked onto the stage, and yes, it was actually meaningful. This sounds like a gimmick. It wasn't. Jensen closed out the keynote with a surprise. Disney's Olaf, yes, the snowman from Frozen, walked out onto the stage, powered by NVIDIA's physical AI stack, the Newton physics engine, and Omniverse-based simulation. It talked to Jensen, moved naturally, and held a real conversation. And I'll admit, when I first read about this, I assumed it was pure showmanship. But the more you think about what it demonstrates, the more it stops being cute and starts being strategic. NVIDIA partnered with Disney to take a beloved fictional character and give it a physical, intelligent presence in the real world. That's not just a party trick, that's a proof of concept for what physical AI can look like when it's consumer-facing, emotionally resonant, and genuinely interactive. We're moving toward a world where AI doesn't just answer questions on your phone. It walks around with you, it operates machines, it drives your car. The Olaf moment was fun, sure, but it was also a glimpse at how this technology will eventually show up in everyday life, not just in warehouses and test facilities. Now here's something I think deserves more attention than the headlines gave it. NVIDIA released 6 open frontier model families at GTC 2026. Cosmos 2 handles world simulation. Groot 2 is for robotics. Alpamayo, as we covered, is for autonomous vehicles. BioNemo targets biology and drug discovery. Earth 2 covers weather and climate forecasting. And Nematron 3 covers language, visual understanding, safety, and speech. This is a huge strategic move. NVIDIA is not trying to be an AI lab competing with OpenAI or Anthropic on general intelligence. They're building the tools that every other company uses to build their own AI. Open source models keep developers inside the NVIDIA ecosystem, which drives demand for NVIDIA hardware. It's a smart flywheel, and it genuinely benefits the broader research and development community at the same time. The Nematron Coalition was also announced, with companies like Mistral, Perplexity, Cursor, and LangChain joining to co-develop Nematron 4 as a shared open foundation. That's a coalition of companies that, frankly, are some of the most respected names in applied AI right now. And then we get to the number that made the entire industry sit up. Jensen doubled his own projection. Last year at GTC 2025, he forecast $500 billion in high-confidence demand for NVIDIA platforms through 2027. This year, he revised that to $1 trillion. Same time frame, double the number. And he said directly that he thinks the real number will be even higher. For context, Moore's Law would have delivered about 1.5 times performance improvement over the past 2 years. NVIDIA delivered 50 times. Token generation speed in a 1 gigawatt factory went from 2 million tokens to 700 million tokens. That's a 350 times improvement in 2 years. These numbers don't feel real until you actually sit with them for a minute. And the infrastructure demand is being driven by AI transitioning from a tool you query to a system that actually does things. Jensen specifically called out the shift from asking AI what or how to asking it to create and build and do. Once AI becomes agentic, once it takes actions autonomously, the compute requirements don't scale linearly. They explode. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend every promise made on a keynote stage becomes real. Tech history is full of demos that never ship. But what's different about NVIDIA's position is that the infrastructure already exists. The chips are in production. The automaker partnerships are signed. The robots are walking around a conference floor today. The self-driving story in particular feels like it's hit a genuine inflection point. Alpamayo is a reasoning system, not just a perception system, and that's the gap that's been holding autonomous vehicles back. When a car can explain its decisions in natural language and adjust based on context, the trust problem starts to become solvable, and trust is the last real barrier to mainstream adoption. The robotics story might be even bigger over a longer time horizon. We're talking about machines that can eventually do physical work in any environment where a human can work. That's not just a productivity story, it's a fundamental change in how the world operates. I'm genuinely excited about all of this, and I think GTC 2026 will look in retrospect like the conference where physical AI stopped being theoretical and became real.